Acara diteruskan dengan sesi panelis kedua. Kami yakin perbincangan seterusnya ini juga akan turut memberi manfaat kepada kita semua. Topik seterusnya bertajuk Strategies on Improving Hill Land Management for Natural Heritage Conservation in Kuala Lumpur. Keseluruhan sesi ini termasuklah sesi soal jawab akan berdurasi selama 50 minit. Moderator bagi sesi ini ialah Registered Town Planner Puan Khairiah Talha, seorang perancang bandar bertauliah dengan pengalaman lebih 40 tahun dalam sektor awam dan swasta. Beliau pernah mengetuai firma perundangan sendiri selama hampir 3 dekad dan aktif dalam badan-badan perancangan profesional di peringkat nasional dan antarabangsa. Kini, beliau terus menyumbang sebagai penasihat kepada NGO Persatuan Lestari Alam Malaysia, khususnya dalam isu komuniti bandar berpendapatan rendah. Bersama beliau adalah 2 panelis yang amat komited dalam memperjuangkan pemeliharaan alam sekitar. Panelis pertama, Encik Azri Hazim Rashid, merupakan Presiden Friends of Bukit Dinding, sebuah pertubuhan bukan kerajaan yang berdaftar dan komited dalam usaha memelihara Bukit Dinding. Manakala panelis kedua, Encik Leon Koy, merupakan Presiden Friends of Bukit KLRA+SD, pertubuhan bukan kerajaan yang berfokus kepada perlindungan dan pemeliharaan Bukit KLRA+SD. Dipersilakan moderator dan panelis untuk naik ke pentas bagi sesi kedua ini. Dengan segala hormatnya, dipersilakan.
Okay, finally. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning. About your first afternoon. Thank you for inviting me. I'm actually a substitute for KLRA Light. Saya sebenarnya bukan orang Kuala Lumpur ya. Tadi tak tahu sangatlah berkaitan dengan KL punya affairs. Saya orang Selangor, duduk di Shah Alam, tapi pernah berkhidmat di KL. Saya jarang sekali masuk Kuala Lumpur sebab I don't like the traffic here. If I come by LRT or MRT, and only if I have to come to Kuala Lumpur. Kalau tidak, saya di Selangor, peaceful lagi. Okay, sorry lah ya. YB, nice to see you. We've not met for a long time. Okay, bersama saya sini ada 2 eminent speakers. We can discuss in both bahasa and English, alright? No worries, we are Malaysians, we speak both languages. So, 2 eminent speakers, one young and one not so young. I'm the youngest, with 40 years experience, so you can add that to number when I started work. So, yeah. Okay. I will do the introductions, the MC has done that. So, I want this to be a very fun but, good exchange or conversation. So, let me start, and they've actually, I asked them to want to Zoom, but the younger person gave way to the older person. So, the other way around. So you got the agreement. The younger one goes first. Okay, silakan. You're free to use the rostrum or sit here. Okay.
Do you have the slides on? These 2 slides. Oh no, wrong one. Wrong field.
This is what happens when they start trying to Zoom.
While we're waiting for the slides, I just about myself also.
Sure.
I am also a Selangor born boy from Kajang, and recently moved to KL. And in KL, there was nowhere to go to the jungle. I stay in Abang Maduri, Charas. So Bukit Dinding was the nearest urban forest to me, and that's the only place I could go and ride my bike. So that's when this whole love affair with that jungle started. So yeah, while we are waiting for the slides, so we'll just start a bit in the background. Bukit Dinding is 350 plus acres of secondary forest in between Setiawangsa and Wangsa Maju, right, surrounded by some of the densest neighborhoods in the country. We've estimated 350 to 400,000 residents around the hill. And Bukit Dinding serves these 2 actually three neighborhoods of Setiawangsa, Wangsa Maju, and Kramat. So Bukit Dinding is majority-wise a class 3 and 4 slope, which is very dangerous for development, as we know. And a bit of background, it is mostly privately owned as well. So government owns approximately 105 acres of it. The rest of it is privately owned by several different private owners and developers. And Friends of Bukit Dinding's mission on the hill is to prevent development on this hill. Alright? We go for the extreme of no development so that hopefully we can reach a happy medium of sustainable development in the area. What else? Oh, there we go. Alright, so while we were doing our research on how to sustainably manage Bukit Dinding, alright, we came across this quote of a shared bigger picture view of the subsurface is required by all those working within the urban development sector if we are to transition from responding to disasters and construction failures to predicting, preempting and preventing them. Prevention is better than cure. What does this mean? For us at Bukit Dinding, we realized that what we knew about the subsurface, what's below the soil at Bukit Dinding, was nowhere near the knowledge we needed to make informed decisions about development on the hill. So at first we were told there's only one type of schist rock beneath the surface, but our team of we'll say independent researchers from our community itself discovered Bukit Dinding has a 400 million year history. We found 8 different types of rock beneath the surface. We found tin deposits from old tin mines that were in the area, and you cannot decide to develop a hill slope without knowing what is beneath that slope. We don't even know if we'll make it past the construction stage if we try. So, next slide please. Of course, we talk about the soil, we talk about the land, we talk about the forest and the animals and the plants. Biodiversity is always important when it comes to an urban forest, but we must remember the key species in an urban forest is the people. Bukit Dinding is all about the people, right? And it is not possible without the community, the visitors and supporters of the project. So, as you can see over here, Bukit Dinding is a beautiful view. Overlooks the whole skyline of KL, which is also what makes it so valuable and vulnerable. But it's got a massive following. You know, every weekend we have big events there. Most of them we don't even organize. People come because it's a great venue. And we see the recreational potential of the hill. We see the conservation potential of the hill. And we see it as a way to educate the public of KL about the importance of urban forests. Because what happens in KL happens nationwide. And we see Bukit Dinding as a precedent-setting case to prevent overdevelopment and also ensure sustainable development of our hill slope lands around the country. So what have we been doing? Next slide please. Of course, our friends here at KLRA+SD have been doing the heavy lifting or doing the papers, policy research, coming up with suggestions for our local authorities, local councils. And what we do on the ground here is find data on the ground because we couldn't access it, we couldn't find it publicly. So we went down to the ground. We have done geological surveys on the streams in Bukit Dinding. In one environmental impact assessment, we were told there's one seasonal stream in the area. We found 8. And we have been doing biodiversity audits. Official biodiversity audit is starting next month. We have done tree planting. We have done trail maintenance. We have built trails as well. I unfortunately couldn't put up the map here, but you can please come to our booth to see the trail map if you would like to visit. And a big part of our efforts were to build green infrastructure, green recreational infrastructure for local residents and nature lovers to come and experience the hill. Because there's a saying in Bahasa Malaysia, peribahasa, tak kenal maka tak cinta. So for people to learn to love this land, you have to be in contact with it. You have to see the hill yourself, alright? We say it's a class 3 and 4 slope. So we have the bridge, it's called the Bidayo Bridge, and after that it scales a class 4 slope, so that you can experience yourself, okay, how steep this hill is, and you can think for yourself, is it really possible to build a condominium here, a townhouse here, a bungalow?
Shouldn't.
Yeah, of course. And it's for everyone to think for themselves. We aim to inspire, we aim to educate through being in contact with the land. So we bring more people to Bukit Dinding. And that, as far as the story of Bukit Dinding, is a long story to go, alright? And I hope some of the questions and discussions during this session will help me get our message across to you. Right, on to Bukit KLRA.
While waiting for Leon, I must also be honest that I do come to Kuala Lumpur on weekends to trek up the hills of KL. So I've been trekking to some of the hills in and around Kuala Lumpur. In fact, I was supposed to go to Bukit Dinding today, but because of this, I will sacrifice and go next week. Okay. Slide.
That's one. Hi, morning everyone.
Morning.
Okay, so I got a few more slides. Bear with me. Fantastic story from Bukit Dinding. Wonderful friends of ours, and they inspire us the same way that we share, our experiences with them. We kind of encourage each other, right? So you can see from Bukit Dinding itself, 350 acres. How so many layers, right? So many things to understand about this hill, and that is the case throughout all of KL. Today you only get to hear about two, but it will tell you what about the rest of KL. In Cheras, for example, the Batu Caves area, etc., Kepong, all these stories are still not told about what is happening with our hills. Now the report has come out, so the technical part of the report, I think, is there, but the idea about sharing all this is to share about the human experience and why it matters. Okay, so just starting here. Just a quick intro, right? FOBK, it came out of the Taman Tun Resident Association, because Taman Tun is right next to Bukit KLRA. A lot of residents were walking up Bukit KLRA. After a while, they realized, hey, we need to take care of this place. So they created this NGO. It was registered in 2014. Okay, so our overall mission, Gazettement of Bukit KLRA, partially achieved, but still some more to go. Okay? And then long-term conservation of this place. Where is it? So, okay, laser pointer doesn't work. Anyway, so you can see in KL, this is KLGCC, right? And Bukit KLRA is up here. This is 400 acres basically. Okay, the green part is what is already gazetted as a Taman Persekutuan. The red part is what is expected to be gazetted. Why? This was all federal land acquired by federal government. This was also federal land, but it was leased out to Miasat actually. Miasat. Back then in the 90s, potentially for a broadcast center at that point in time. Why? Because at that point in time, there was some complicated deal about Commonwealth Games, etc. They needed some help to build some sports facilities here. So Miasat was, the owners of Miasat would basically ask, hey, we give you this, can you help to build some of these things? And also Bukit Jalil. That's kind of a backstory of what happened. Okay, so Miasat has a lease here, but this lease is expiring 2027. The federal government has promised that they will let this lease expire and then gazette the rest. Okay, so we will hold on to that promise. But that's why we continue working hard, because we want to make sure that this promise is kept. Okay? Now, what is the importance of this gazettement? I just want to share with you. Actually, Bukit KLRA the origin was Bukit KLRA+SD, which was 1,600 acres. Okay? It was all of this: Science Center, Intan, Securities Commission, all this stuff that you can see, all of this, the dotted one was 1,600 acres. That was Bukit KLRA Estate, rubber plantation, owned by Ng Chin Siu family, okay, Siu and Sons, acquired by the federal government in the 70s for public purpose. Okay, supposed to become botanical gardens, national arboretum, and also Pusara Negara for national heroes. Yeah, something like Arlington National Cemetery in Washington DC. Very quickly, the Pesong already. Suddenly, you got KLGCC, golf course. This is supposedly the most premium golf course in the country. Where's the public purpose? Not. Public can walk in and ask to play as long as you pay lah. Okay? So that is the public purpose. Then you got KGPA, Club Golf Perkhidmatan Awam. Okay? Public purpose, yes, for civil servants to play golf. Okay? So 2 golf courses already. Then some of it was used for institutional. So like Intan is the National Training Center, Securities Commission, National Science Center. Okay, that's fine. So but all this was taken. So this was left, 400 acres. Yeah? And FOK basically was advocating, please gazette this, what is left. So finally in 2020, NIO worked very hard, managed to get this gazetted, and the remainder is supposed to be gazetted in 2027. You will ask me, where is Taman Rimba KLRA? Taman Rimba KLRA is right here. This bottom section is not part of this Taman Persekutuan Bukit KLRA. It is 25 acres here. That was a separate story lah. But FOBK is also, it's part of our mission, basically to protect and conserve this area and also advocate for long-term conservation of Taman Rimba KLRA, including housing for the longhouses. Okay, so next one. This is the whole story lah. Okay, now you can see this is Taman Persekutuan Bukit KLRA. This is Taman Rimba KLRA. So 400 acres, 25 acres. Now, what is the importance of Taman Persekutuan? Actually, in the country, there is no other Taman Persekutuan. Now there is, but previously didn't have. Okay? There was only Taman Negara and Taman Negeri. So the concept of Taman Persekutuan is new. This was the first Taman Persekutuan created in the country. In 2020, can you believe that? 60 years of Merdeka, only in 2020 we got 1 Taman Persekutuan. Okay? Now there's 1 more in Terengganu. On the back of this successful gazettement, there's 1 more now in Terengganu. Okay? Taman Persekutuan. Now, the question is, okay, we have Taman Persekutuan. What is the meaning of a Taman Persekutuan? Apa maknanya? What do we want to see for a Taman Persekutuan? If we go overseas to developed countries, when you say a national park or federal park, you know it's a federal park. You don't have big condos around it, right? You can feel that this is a park. This is a place for the public. This is a sanctuary, right? Yes. So that is what we are trying to push for here. I mean, the government that was in place in 2020, they did part of it already by getting it gazetted. And now it is about continuing the work to try to ensure that this is sustainable. Okay? Now, so what's in the green line? All kinds of stuff. Importantly, source of 3 rivers. Sungai Penchala, Sungai Kayu Ara, Sungai Toba. 3 rivers flow out of Taman Persekutuan Bukit KLRA. Okay? That we don't draw water from it, but it is an important sponge, right? Because all this water flows out. Yes. We already have problems. Okay? Sungai Toba flows out into Segambut Dalam, and then further down into KL. Some of the floods in KL, which we have seen, some of it is contributed by Sungai Toba. Why? Because of all the development that's happening here. up here. You see that one? Right at the top there? This is outside of the gazetted federal park. But this is part of the larger KLRA ecosystem. And all of this is Sungai Toba starts from here, flows down that way into Segambut. See Mokiara is here, right? Sungai Toba flows down here like that. Nowadays, if you go to this area, Sungai Toba is like some muddy, you can barely see what the stream is. Yeah? Because of that development there. Okay. So, what else? 3 minutes. Wow, there's a lot of stuff to go, man. But anyway, it's been regenerated. The important thing is that from a rubber estate, it was replanted, yeah, by a friend. Over the years, 30,000 trees were replanted. And because of that, biodiversity returned to this area. That is the crazy part, okay? Because after a few years of all the replanting, this is what we have now. More than 70 bird species, 9 firefly species, more than Kuala Selangor. Kuala Selangor only has 4 species. Look at all the biodiversity that we have discovered over these years, including pangolins. But please don't tell the poachers. We have published a booklet, okay, which contains story lah. Yeah? This committee, these are our pillars. All these people, all of them are volunteers. We only have one permanent staff. And this permanent staff is a Malaysian who studied at Monash University. She's a tropical environmental biologist. Whatever money we have, we devote to paying her salary because we want to give a career pathway to young Malaysians to work in this area. Okay? These are our partners. So we try to do a lot of our conservation work is a lot of outreach. We're trying to reach out to people. We do publications. We try to do a science-based approach where we work with all universities to write research papers about Bukit KLRA. Now, the result of all that, so we collaborate with Governor Landscape, which is the park administrator. Okay? So we do a lot of work with them, signages, bomba rescue markers. We guide bomba on where to put all these markers in the trail, because otherwise you get people calling bomba, hey, I'm lost, I'm injured, come and find me. And bomba says, how to find you? So we put this in place. Now, bomba just says, where are you? Which marker are you? And we come and get you. Right? So, a lot of this work is going on. Now, this, I just want to show you, this is the Firefly project. Okay? Kuala Selangor has 4 species of fireflies. In Bukit KLRA, we have now discovered 9 species of fireflies. Okay? And we also have the largest species of fireflies in the world in Bukit KLRA. Okay? It is so big, the firefly species is so big, this one is so big that it can't even fly. Really? Okay, it's a story in energy conservation. Nature tells us all these stories. The firefly focuses so much on being able to reproduce that it doesn't develop wings even. But it is a firefly because it's luminous. Okay? So this work has been going on. We get free Monash University to the scientists there to come and work with citizen scientists, volunteers, teach them how to identify fireflies. Okay? We run a baseline study. Every month we collect data, okay, to count the fireflies. And for example, with JLM, we told them, look, you cannot just clear away all the leaves. You have to leave the biomass there because that's where the fireflies thrive. Okay? So a lot of work going on. This one very important. This is a baseline data. This red stuff is a heat map of firefly colonies. Okay? But we haven't surveyed everything. This is just one of the trails. Now, what happens is, Selangor started doing work. They got Sun Dhabi to start doing work here. Okay? We told them, please be careful. You're right at the edge of where one of the highest proliferation of firefly colonies. They said, okay, noted. We told them you need a buffer. You know what they did? They planted one line of bushes as a buffer. Okay? So we continue collecting data over the 2 years that they did work. Over 2 years, you can see less and less. Okay? Documented data. You see, 2022, 2023, less, and 2024, a lot less in that area. Okay? Incidentally, that's the reason why I'm in Woods, because Dato Mana decided to go plumbing today. So we met her there. This one is another project, tree planting. Okay? Now, why do we do all this? Because basically, same point as Adri has made. Tak kenal, tak cinta. So these programs are there because actually a lot of people are interested. They want to learn. They want to access. Some folks don't like to come and do fireflies at night. So, but they like planting. So we try to run all these programs so that folks can come and engage with the park. Right? Now, one big challenge that we have, this is Taman Negara, I won't talk about that for now, is a buffer zone. Okay? So, here, the red part is where the park is. Here, this is where the Ais Lango water tank was, where we saw the issues. All of this is Sandabi. And we have told Sandabi, you guys need to think about what you're doing here, these parcels. And we have also told DBKL, multiple mayors, we have already said, this, number one, this is a federal park. Okay? Sandabi got this land before it became a federal park, but now it is a federal park. What do you want a federal park to be? You want it to have plenty of condos as well? Can we just stop and talk about it, please? Okay, number one. Number two, besides it being federal park, you got 9 species of fireflies, firefly colonies here. You can't find it everywhere. You can build a condo anywhere, but you can't find fireflies here, everywhere, right? So, can we please just think about what is happening here? Do we want to try and conserve this? Okay. Now, the 9 species that were just discovered beginning of this year has not been cited for 100 years. The last time this species was cited was in Gombak in 1921. And the Monash scientists discovered it in Bukit KLRA beginning of this year. In first time in 100 years. And according to Monash scientists, they think that they will discover species number 10, 11, number 12, but they need time. They need time to do the work. If we allow all this to continue happening, we will be out of time. And we will never discover them. And these are all natural treasures. Yeah. So this is all about buffer zones. Now,
Okay, I have to...
yeah, sorry.
I know it's such a very enthusiastic presentation and much more for us to learn from this. Perhaps Leon, you can share it online with all participants here, yeah? And it's posted up into your WhatsApp or IG and all that, right? Because it's so interesting. And what was the outcome of the mayor's visit this morning? Can you share with us?
Yeah, she said she will come back. She wants to do a visit.
Great, and I promised her that I will also hold her hand and go and visit Bukit KLRA itself to watch the fireflies actually at night. So we're holding hands in case there's spooks out there, right?
She's very fond of you. She remembers you very well.
Of course, I was just talking to her yesterday. Anyway, so there you go, 2 bukits, 2 hills in KL. One which is very mature in terms of research, because a lot of people are interested there, and Bukit Dinding is still a very new one. We've got a very young leader here, which I think eventually it will also collect data as much as what Bukit KLRA has done. It's a really wonderful effort. And I must say that I'm an enthusiast in terms of trekking. I do appreciate all the hills, it provides elderly people like me, the conduit for us to stay active, to stay healthy. So I hate to go around places where it's all flat, really. It's no challenge for us. Yeah, so I'll open up to Q&A or further discussions. Perhaps now, there's the two of you, I must remind you that this topic of this session is actually looking at strategies, how to better manage all the hills in Kuala Lumpur. I know it's fast disappearing, much of it is in private hands. And to be fair, I mean, in my career, I've dealt with developers who own land on hillsides. They pay a premium in terms of quick rent and assessment. So, what can be there for them also. So perhaps as very knowledgeable representatives of the society, of the community, we can partner them, like, for example, Sandabi. And I must say that through the works of many professional bodies also, that many professional bodies have also kind of shared our knowledge and education with many developers in terms of more care and support for environmental assets of the city. Of course, not all developers are very greedy like, they do preserve some of the areas for especially high grounds for their own parks and preservation, but there could be more that can be done, really. And of course, the impacts of climate change, the effect on rivers, on our cities, like what you say. So, and they all emanate from hill slopes, hillsides, okay? So, any questions, please post on to the thingy. Where you have it? Joshua, how do I on this? Yep. Are there anything being posted? There's been one question though about, what was it? Okay, great job on biodiversity audits and making trails, but how about landowners' consent and approval? Perhaps KLRA, Leon, you could describe that. How about the landowners? Are they involved in the audits, and do you consult them? Do you share your knowledge with them ever?
Okay, so I think biodiversity audit, I think Agri had kind of mentioned that a little bit for FOBD. For Bukit KLRA, from a landowner point of view, Bukit KLRA itself is owned by the federal government, so it's a gazetted federal park, so it's less of an issue, right? The question is sharing the results of some of these studies that we're doing with the neighboring landowners. So that's part of the work that we're doing, which is why we are talking to like Sandabi and trying to share with them our findings. Right? At the same time, one big player in this actually is also DBKL. Sorry, I know DBKL getting called out a lot today. Because from in terms of the overall status of the Taman Persekutuan, this is what I meant about trying to memaknakan konsep Taman Persekutuan. Because what is the meaning of that? Yes, you have a gazetted Taman Persekutuan, but what is happening on the surrounding area? Because what happens on the surrounding affects the core. Yeah? So that's why we have been advocating with DBKL that there needs to be a buffer zone established around this Taman Persekutuan. And again, it is okay to say that there's no precedent. Tak pernah dibuat before this doesn't mean kita tak perlu buat. The idea is that the government has been progressive enough to actually gazette Taman Persekutuan. Now it is down to everyone, us public and also other government bodies like DBKL, to give meaning to that by protecting a buffer around it, right? So there has to be some rules that are established, and that's what we're advocating. The DBKL should look at some rules in order to give meaning to a Taman Persekutuan.
I'd like to add on as well. In terms of biodiversity audits, in our case, for our results to be able to be used publicly, we need a perhilitan permit. So in terms of the perhilitan permits that they have restricted the study area. So in our case, we have 2 plots of land which are under government ownership. First one is 80 acres of state-owned land which is in the process of being gazetted as a forest reserve. We're not entirely there yet, but it's in process. And we have another 25 acres which is under PTP. So we are restricted to the state-owned lands because that is what is legal for us. And at the same time, whatever results are to be shared also are at the discretion of Penyidikan, because we do not want whatever we find, if we find valuable species, rare species, we don't want that to get out to the poachers as well. So control over our data is also very important. I'm sure FOBK understands as well. So just to touch on the part about data collection, FOBD is at the beginning stage, what you see with Bukit KLRA, where everything has been established. We are at the first stage of establishing the community, and the community assists to collect data. So we have found, there's a lot of restrictions on how to collect data. It's not even to your study areas, what you're allowed to collect, how you set up your experiments, and even partners you're able to bring on. So yes.
Okay, wonderful. Now, there are 2 questions here. One is, I'll choose the one that's much easier. What's the biggest challenge that each of you face in the effort to achieve your goals? First, perhaps, what is the biggest challenge?
I think the biggest challenge for us has been getting political will. I think that's the challenge of any social issue, right? So the way that we are overcoming that issue is showing how many people from their electorate depends on this natural asset. Not just those who are interested in recreation on the hill, but those who depend on the slopes for prevention of landslides, prevention of floods, for control of the microclimate in the area. And that is, the challenge is trying to get that across to the decision makers as well. We have, in our area, we have 2 MPs who are presiding over the hill, YB SB and YB A1 also, representative was here. So yeah, political will is always an issue, and that's our strategy to overcome it at the moment. It's still a work in progress.
Okay, how about Kiara? The biggest challenge? It's a thing, man.
Okay, I won't say Dato Pandang here. I will say Dewan Pataraya here. Sorry, I'm just going to be very open about it.
Sure, you can be honest here. Yeah.
Because you have to set the rules. If you set the rules, then people will fall in line. Don't expect a developer to, try to regulate themselves. We have to regulate them. And we have been advocating continuously. We've showed data. We've taken, I don't know how many, we've taken a few Dato Pandas out to Bukit KLRA. But the whole of Dewan Pataraya needs to play ball here. And we have already commented, so like YB Teresa said, everyone told us focus on the local plan. Then it refers back to structured plan. We have started from, we realized that early on. So we started from the 2018 structure plan, the 2018 local plan, followed up to the 2040 structure plan, and now the local plan. And all the way we have been consistent, right? And actually, we have been involved in litigation. There's a KL City Plan 2018 litigation ongoing. Okay, there's a KL Structure Plan 2040 litigation also ongoing. All of them involve DBKL because they went ahead and gazetted stuff which shouldn't be there, despite objections that have been expressed. I'll just give you one simple example, just one example, okay, to bring this to life. Around Bukit KLRA, like I said, source of 3 rivers. Okay? One of those rivers, Sungai Penchala, flows in 2 branches out of Bukit KLRA. There is a western branch that flows through Namantun, and there's an eastern branch that flows through KLGCC. Okay? Now, in the structure plan 2020, which was gazetted in 2004, many years ago, in that structure plan, there was one section which focuses on rivers and water bodies. And in that structure plan, they showed that Sungai Penchala had two branches. Okay, western branch, eastern branch. Fine, good. In the 2018 city plan, it disappeared. So we highlighted this is a problem. KLSP 2040 structure plan, again, not there. Right? So we highlighted again, we said this is a problem. And we have provided physical evidence, photos, videos. This eastern branch of the river is there. It flows through Taman River KLRA, it flows through KLGCC and Taman River KLRA. So why is it absent? And so in the latest city plan, again, it's not there. Some may think, what was the big issue? But I think we all understand now. You lenyapkan one river like that, it means that you don't have to take care of the river, right? So, I mean, this is just one example. It is blatant. And we have been highlighting this for like over 3 different plans. And still DBKL does not recognize it. Why? Because if there's a river there, well, you can't allow so much development now. Right? So, just one example.
Right. Yeah, so we need that to be looked into actually, because as a planner, when I'm doing a plan, whenever there are physical structures, especially natural topography and natural features, we have to include in the plan. And if it's not there, maybe some mistake somewhere, I'm not sure, but let's find out. Okay, now, do you realize that you mentioned that there are private lands in and around Bukit Dinding, also KLRA? At any point that the landowners want to develop, especially where there are lands up 3 to 4 degree slope, classes, there is an EIA that they have to do, and there's an opportunity for the public to also comment on EIAs, right? That's one. So that's another stage of public participation. The other one, if any forest land is to be excised for public use, there is also a provision in the National Forestry Act that allows for the public to also comment and either bantah or whatever, so there are provisions there too. So it's good to be aware of that. But now there's one question here that says, what is the potential for bringing macro or combi impact EIA into conserving hill ecosystems? And maybe this is a suggestion as a strategy. Could you comment on that? Potential for bringing macro combi impact EIA into conserving hill ecosystems. Do you want to comment?
Sorry, I'm not sure what the macro combi impact EIA is.
I know.
Yeah, sorry, but from what we understand of EIAs, right, as you said, when it comes to class 3 or 4 slope development, yes, you have the EIA. But although we are given the opportunity to comment on the said EIA, how much do we know? How much do we have to argue on this EIA that was presented? EIAs are done by multi-million ringgit consultancy companies, and what does the community have to stand up against a consultant? Alright? So building the capacity of the community to be able to understand firstly and to comment on an EIA is crucial. And most of the time you don't have the correct structure for community to get involved in this issue. So what we experienced is it took a large group of people. I think we have Datuk Ian here, he was there earlier, he said Bukit Dinding t-shirt. They started a long time ago, I think in 2014, they started looking at the EIA issues. And it's taken until now for us to get funding for our community to really go out and do the studies that are required to get the data that would be able to either verify or disprove the claims that are made by developers in their AIA. For example, I said just now, one type of rock in the AIA we found 8, one stream we found 8. So there's a lot of work that goes into commenting on AIA, and I think sometimes when the ruling is put up, they don't understand the amount of work that will go into a community mobilizing itself.
Exactly. It's just amazing that you've done what you've really, collected as well, and all this data, the data collected or your research actually will be a really useful tool in commenting on the EIAs if ever it comes up. Now, another factor that we have to be aware also is that the Town and Country Planning Act, as far as I know, for 1976, I'm not sure about the Federal Territory Planning Act, but in the Town and Country Planning Act, correct me, is that when a landowner is deprived of developing their land as per regulated or given plot ratio and all that by the local authority, right? If a landowner is deprived, the local authority will have to compensate the landowner. So that is another factor that ties the hands of local authorities really. So there must be an effort to balance out, what can be allowed for developer to continue his business, but for also the community to have the privilege of enjoying the environment that's there. So which is why I feel that a lot of developers, when they develop along hillsides, hill slopes, they go very high, so that they can release part of their land, okay? So they have to go very high to get the plot ratio allowable by the local authority, go high so that part of the land is released for community use or for parks and all that, which I think Sime Darby has done at KL East, So that is one way of them trying to balance it out. What do you think about that? Would you like to see more of that in Bukit Bintang?
Well, if I can have one of my slides up, I have a picture. So we were looking through the questions presented, and we landed on Hong Kong as a good case study for this, right? So we can talk about developing near hill slopes, right? Class 1, Class 2, Class 3 and 4 I will not recommend it, because Malaysian maintenance culture is not suited to maintaining high risk infrastructure. But okay, if you go third slide please. Next one, sorry. Okay, this is Hong Kong, right? And in Hong Kong, I was there last year, and I was amazed to see massive steep hill slopes surrounded by high density development. This is probably what KL will look like 20, 30 years from now. Town planner would know. And as the population increases, of course density has to go up. But you can see that there is a very clear distinction between the steepness of these slopes, right, and what is allowed for development. You can develop in the lowlands and more gentler slopes. Even then, density is regulated, plot ratios are controlled. And you mentioned plot ratios earlier. Who sets plot ratios? DBKL. And as Leon said also, DBKL has to know, they need the information to set the correct plot ratios. If not, the system doesn't work. I think Peter covered it also just now. It's two one-way streets. It's not a conversation. And to have a conversation, you need data, alright? So how did Hong Kong get to this stage of being able to develop safely? We don't hear much about disastrous landslides in Hong Kong. And they're only 6 hours away, so we should, right? So Asia Pacific, please. Next slide, please. How did they get to this point? Is that they needed to go through this, alright? Malaysia is going through this now. Okay, we have slope failures every time it rains, alright? Our last landslide mapping survey on Bukit Bintang on October 12th last year, we had massive rainfall, and we recorded 44 landslides in one day. And you can imagine what happened around KL. You had slope failures all over KL, Taman Bukit Melawati. That was an engineered slope solution, and it failed during the rain event.
Our land is soft.
Yes, our land is soft.
Yeah, our land, our earth is soft.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So next slide, please. This is Taman Bukit Melawati. Alright. Engineered slope solution failed. Alright. It doesn't matter if the rain is heavy or short downfall, or a light drizzle for extended time. Alright. It still saturates the soil. Both ways have different ways of triggering landslides. Next slide, please. So Hong Kong themselves, right, to have the right data to develop slope areas well, they have a system called GEO. Okay, it's a Hong Kong slope safety system, where they catalog every single slope. I mean, DBKL has that as well. We have a register of the road, but it's publicly available. I think we've covered that also earlier. Things like OSC should be publicly available, and they have information on every single landslide that has happened in Hong Kong. What was the cause of it, and what was the remedial works? This sort of information should be made publicly available, because a country only works, a democracy only works if all our brains are tuned into the same information. So this is how Hong Kong got from the landslide situation they had back in the 70s to get to sustainable development now. And I think that relates very well to our topic today. So next slide, just to close this. We tried looking for history of landslides in Malaysia, and we got a Wikipedia page. Anyone can edit a Wikipedia page, right? It's public information, publicly editable. So I think the gap between what we saw on the Hong Kong geo system and what we have in Malaysia is huge. But we can solve it if we want to develop sustainably in Kuala Lumpur and Malaysia.
Thank you very much. Okay, I've been shown the paper there that says only 1 minute left. Perhaps I just round up. And I'm sure there's a lot more that you want to ask and a lot more that you need to discuss. So there is a networking lunch afterwards. So yeah, head for these people. They're in front of the stage for you to really clearly see who they are and pose questions on them, as well as representatives of DBKL and the planners and other professionals here. But what I can round up is one of the best strategies is actually number one is actually data collection by both parties, both sides. Yeah, you need to have that record of your assets within your area, your hill of interest, and to share that with the community, to partner with organizations to help you gather this information and record it and have a system of access to the public, and most importantly, like what we heard in Hong Kong, that's why I love to see benchmarking of best practices really. Hong Kong having that data on all the hills and what are the occurrences, also a kind of system that the public can access to. So transparency, very, very important in the strategic management of our natural assets, especially high topography, mainly the hills and the mountains of Malaysia. Yeah. So thank you very much to the esteemed speakers for your participation, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for participating and showing great interest despite it being nearly lunchtime. So give all of us a clap. Thank you very much.
Terima kasih diucapkan kepada moderator dan para panelis untuk sesi yang begitu informatif dan sangat jelas sekali topik yang diketengahkan. Perbincangan ini telah membuka mata kita tentang kepentingan pengurusan tanah bukit yang lebih lestari melalui penglibatan pihak berkepentingan bersama komuniti setempat demi memelihara khazanah alam semula jari di Kuala Lumpur. Majlis memohon semua moderator dan panelis untuk kekal di atas pentas seketika. Majlis dengan hormatnya menjemput kelantan ke pentas untuk menyampaikan cenderahati sebagai tanda penghargaan kepada moderator dan panelis kita. It's going to be a sesi cenderahati. Yes. Yes, alright. Cenderahati akan diberikan oleh Mr. Lee selaku KLRA+, penaung asas. Sudah hadir untuk sesi panelis kedua ini juga berupa anak pokok yang disumbangkan oleh Free Tree Society. Sekalian ucapan terima kasih kepada Free Tree Society atas sumbangan pokok-pokok ini. Terima kasih diucapkan kepada moderator dan para panelis atas sesi kedua ini. Kami berjumpa untuk kembali ke tempat duduk. Dipersilakan.